Alrighty. It is that time again for another edition of Whatchu Spinnin. This is episode 53. Coming at you live, pre-recorded, whatever the fuck you want to call it, from Jake's place. As per usual, I'm your host, Dorian, joined as always by my two brethren, Jacob and Matt. Jake, shout out to you for hosting this week. And Matt, shout out to you for bringing something up kind of at the buzzer. We're going to do a little bit of another Q&A as we did for the instrumental part 2 edition on episode 50. Except this time it's not just going to be my dumb ass asking the questions. I'm going to start it off with a few. Motherfucker. I will kill Jacob live on camera today, probably. So stay tuned. No, I'm kidding. But I'm going to start it off, and then I'll pass it off to Matt, and then Matt will pass it off to Jacob. You know, kind of the same format, just everybody's asking the shit. But anyway, let's get right on into it. First off, how you boys doing?
I'm doing well.
Doing great?
Yeah. Supreme. It's been a good weekend.
Supreme?
Perfect. Yeah.
Good weekend so far. I've been in a car or not at my house all weekend. So
There we go. Busy.
Take that as you will.
Busy.
I'm not a fan. But we have tomorrow.
But you're here now. And like you said,
Yes.
tomorrow off.
We have tomorrow off.
Yes.
So you can find me with my dick in one hand and a beer in the other. That's all. I will not be responding to
That will not be on camera.
that will not be on camera.
That's for you guys to marinate
Subscribe
on.
to my OnlyFans. Shout out to you. But no, 3-day weekends, always great. You know, we get to do this and then kind of relax, you know, recoup the next day. But,
yeah.
No, and Jake, shout out to you. You're starting a new gig Tuesday, so
that I am. Yeah, this week I was off, which was nice. I got through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Very good.
Jacob pulled the what we call the corporate scumbag hat trick, where you accrue so much PTO that it's not worth it to get cashed out at whatever your company cashes out at. So you request a week off, and then as soon as that gets approved, you send another email saying, "By the way, my last day will be the Friday of the week you took off," and so you basically give a 1 week's notice. So shout out to you.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to do that, never been able to fully pull it off, so that's actually fucking impressive. But yeah, congrats, duty. And let's start with these questions. I'm gonna go ahead and kick her off.
Let's do it.
Mine are kind of more like 2 of them are based, like, kind of centered about like the podcast itself, and then one is kind of a generalization that you could make about the podcast if you want. First one is, what's a genre, and also no order that you guys have to answer, and whoever has the answer first gets to fucking answer. It's not Jeopardy. I don't give a fuck.
Because we have a buzzer.
Yeah. the wires, the Atari joysticks. What's a genre that you got more into since being a part of the cast?
Rock.
Yeah, rock and metal.
Yeah. I listened to it when I was younger, but not as much nowadays.
Right. And
coming back to familiar artists and new artists, like it's brought me back to the genre again, and different types of rock. Like there's metal, and then there's hard rock, garage rock, screamo, all this other stuff that comes with it. So definitely rock. I appreciate that you guys are such metalheads that like introduced me to like old school stuff, like like classics, and then also some newer things that are coming up. That kind of gets me the best of both worlds. So definitely rock.
Hell yeah.
Appreciative of that.
Love it.
I'd say hip hop for me. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I felt like before I got on the podcast, I was kind of limited in my search or my desire to even listen to new hip hop, because I didn't have anywhere to like find it, or thought I was looking at something that wasn't there. But you guys opened it up to show me that there's a lot out there from everywhere, and it's great, So that's been my favorite part.
Hell
as
yeah.
far as the genres go.
Personally, for me, it's a toss-up. So I got to go like half-half. And this is like more hip-hop, whether it's kind of hip-hop, because I was already huge into that, but it was, like Matt, you introduced me to De La Soul, Arrested Development. I hadn't heard that the Black on Both Sides by Mos Def, and I don't think I'd ever heard that all the way through. So some of the classics. And then Jacob, you kind of opened my eye to like the underground, like Griselda kind of stuff. So like West Side Gun, Boldy, Benny the Butcher, all those guys, Mock Hami, Quell Chris, so those guys, I would say that. And then Hispanic music, actually. I literally asked
Yes.
Jacob. I asked Jacob like a month ago. I was like, "Hey man, can you make me just a playlist of Hispanic artists? Because the shit bangs."
Hell
And
yeah.
and then when you brought up Buena Vista Social Club, it took me 2 weeks before I had my own copy of it because that album
was
rips.
quick. Yeah.
And to make an adjustment to the last Q&A we did, as much as I love Pleasure Principle by Gary Newman, I was racking my brain to try and remember Buena Vista Social Club. So that is my other third album of.
That was like a month.
I know, but I'm gonna make an adjustment. We've got fans that listen to all of it. Trust me, I know. I hear about it. And my next question is, what's an artist you got introduced to from the show that you're now a huge fan of?
Ooh.
Whether not like huge, like I have to see them in concert, I have to buy all their stuff, but you're like, damn, that artist kicks ass. I gotta look into their stuff.
Jeez, I have a lot that I'll listen to still like on a daily basis.
That's a tough one. That's why I love our note taking and the fact that we record all this.
Yeah.
We can always go back.
I think one just recently, Bauhaus.
Yeah.
I've been really into Bauhaus lately. I went to like kind of like a goth night thing event at one of the bars here a week or so ago, and they were playing like kind of that style, like
Way to hit me
industrial.
up late as fuck for that too. It was like over, and you're like,
That
"You want to come out?" I was
That was
like,
Kevin. That was Kevin. I was like, hey, I don't know what he's doing, if he does or not.
If you would have let me know at the beginning of Goth Night, I would have been there in my Jinko jeans and my corn T-shirt and
Yeah.
everything.
Ready to go.
But it got me so much into it again, and I got back into Bauhaus, and it's so good. And I was listening to some of their like other albums too. It kind of like a little bit different vibe, a little bit similar, but definitely that album really got me into Bauhaus and that artist.
In the flat field.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Matt, what about you?
It's a toss up for me between like MF Doom and how do you pronounce it? Yves Tumor. How do you pronounce
Yves Tumor.
Yves Tumor.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just kind of been my new thing lately. Just kind of diving down that hole,
Hell yeah.
just because it's abstract and a little bit different, and I always like music like that. That's a little bit more outside of the box, but has a lot of different elements from other artists out there throughout the decades. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
And for me, I would say Alchemist as a whole, probably. Just getting into his stuff that he's worked with people, and subsequently, getting into Boldy James and Billy Woods and Elucid, stuff like that. And then also, yeah, I mean, it helps that you brought up two of their albums, but Fugazi is just a fucking incredible band. And so I would say them, but also you bringing up The Fragile by Nine Inch Nails kind of made me go back to that when I was into Nine Inch Nails, like that era of me listening to music. So like Nine Inch Nails, got a little back into like Marilyn Manson's, like that kind of, because I go through music phases a lot. And so when I was listening to Nine Inch Nails, it was just all over the place. And so I was like, all right, Fragile. All right, now I'm going to listen to all of Downward Spiral. I'm going to listen to all of Pretty Hate Machine.
that's another underrated album as well.
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
So I would say, yeah, Nine Inch Nails and fucking Alchemist, but also kind of Arm & Hammer stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then the last one, this one's going to be kind of a deeper question. What is your dream? You go to a concert, right? And there's 3 artists on the lineup. What is your dream lineup? Doesn't matter if they're the same genre. Doesn't matter if they're dead, alive, current, old, whatever. But 3 artists that you would just love to see on the same bill at a concert.
Whew. Goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's a deep one.
Dead or Alive, I like that.
Yeah.
Not the band. I'll start off. I'd probably go with like The Doors,
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Danzig in his prime,
Yep.
a little bit more late 80s, 90s Danzig, and then seeing Dead Can Dance.
Yeah.
That would be
That would be
it for
fucking
me.
epic.
Because I feel like I've seen a lot of different artists and seen a lot of different concerts, but those 3 would be just
Perfect.
that would complete me.
Yeah.
Good question.
Thank
Good
you.
question.
That one, I have 2 already. I know for sure to be Daft Punk. Vicente Fernandez,
The first president of Mexico.
the first president of Mexico. Yeah. That's the best. God damn it, Dorian.
That's the best brain dead moment I've ever had.
Yeah, I love you. And then third, see, I only had two. Third, I'm gonna keep the theme of Spanish. I'll go Buena Vista, just because they were already so old when they were performing, and they already passed, like a lot of them. So
Yeah.
that's a loaded question, though.
Yeah, Buena Vista, Vicente, Daft Punk, Danzig, like 80s, 90s Danzig, Doors, and Dead Can Dance.
All D's. I didn't.
All D's, yeah. And mine, give me MF Doom.
That's what I would have.
Yeah, give me MF Doom. And if Madlib comes out and they do all of Mad Villainy and then Madlib does Quasimodo, that'd be sick. But no, just MF Doom, really. And then... Shit. Give me Master of Puppets era Metallica, and then early Slipknot. So like 1999 to 2001. Like give me Iowa era Slipknot. That would be a fucking fantastic show. Early Slipknot, MF Doom, and Jesus Christ, Metallica. 86 Metallica, fucking for sure.
Hell yeah.
But those are my questions. Great time. Great questions. Great answers.
Those are great questions.
Matt?
Gotta follow that up? Fuck.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
You got the talking pen? you have also
I have my own.
Also, hold on. Can I show the I haven't seen somebody actually
I haven't
use
seen one of those in the
these
longest
in
time.
fucking years.
It's
This is why
Crosby's,
Matt-
okay?
No,
I
it's
stole
the-
it from his desk.
I went to a birthday party and they gave me 2 of those in a gift bag, and I was like, dude, I haven't held one of these in years. That's fucking rad. But anyway,
Different colors for every album.
yeah.
Okay, first question. What was the first hip hop album you ever heard?
Like all the way through?
No, just like when you were growing up, like when you were like as far as just something that you heard. Like, what was the first hip hop album you heard?
Country Grammar by Nelly.
Okay,
Actually.
down, baby.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That was huge when it came out.
Dude.
That was such a fun album too. I remember. Yeah, that was a great
Massive album.
Yeah,
I just remember my mom had that on CD, and when I had my old car and I had a 6-disc changer in it, she just handed me a shit ton of CDs, and that was the first one. She was like, "You want any of these?" And I was like, "Is that Country Grammar? Give me that fucking thing." Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I would say that it's not exactly like hip hop, but it
No,
was
it's got
like
some
that
other
was
bangers on it too. That's a decent album.
yeah. It was probably that, and then either I can't remember. They were probably around the same time, but that and Bulletproof by 50 Cent.
Okay.
I think mine was probably The Chronic.
Nice.
I want to say that was like one of the first times that I wrote, because my cousins, they would play that all the time.
Hell
They
yeah.
would clown- They play a lot of Dr. Dre, a lot of Snoop Dogg, West Coast rappers.
Nice. What about you?
Easy E, Nobody Move.
Nice. Not even NWA.
No,
Interesting.
it was like kind of in that, and then NWA came along after that. But I just remember that
Yeah.
song because it was such a random. It was like almost a skit within a song. Kind of when they were. That was a popular thing. You know, we all talked about that before. But
Fuck yeah.
that was a good one.
I like that. That's awesome. Easy.
And then another question: what album or artist, either or, makes you feel better after listening to them or it? Yeah.
Fuck.
And it can be an album. Like one that makes you just like, if you're pissed off, it just calms you. If you're happy, it does the same thing and kind of elevates that mood. It's just like your go-to album, and no matter how many times you've heard it or how many times you play it, it always has that same effect. And I feel like we all
Yeah.
have one of those, I'm sure.
Can I give 2? Because it's
Sure.
hard to pick.
Yeah.
Cheater.
Yeah,
You and your 15 honorable mentions.
Hey,
Yeah.
he made the rules. He made the rules. He let me do it. And this is super hilarious because these are both albums I've brought up on the show. A Sense of Purpose by In Flames, still to this day, just it's exactly that. Whether I'm happy or whether I'm pissed or depressed, I put that album on and it either elevates the happiness, like feel good, or it like kind of centers me. And then The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like had a pretty rough day on Thursday, and so I like dipped out early. It was just like I don't want to fucking be here. Dipped out early, and just the whole way home, I took like a weird ass long route to get to my house, and I listened to like most of the fucking Wall. So I would say the Wall in a sense of purpose for me, for sure.
Way to toot your own horn there.
What do you mean? I'm being vulnerable, man.
I'm telling you how it is.
I think if I'm gonna go an album, I'm gonna go Stereo Lab.
Ooh, shout
Dots
out.
and Loops.
Shout out.
Because that album definitely, like the first half is just like crazy good.
Yeah.
I love it. And every time that I put it on, I'm doing something that I like. Like I'm cooking, or
Oh yeah.
like when we were making pasta, I was playing that. Like we listened to that whole album. So definitely that album. I have it out there for a reason. It's like
When you first walk in the door, it's the first album you see over there.
yeah, when I need to cheer up or something, or if I'm in a good mood, I'll play that.
Nice. I love it.
That's been popping up more on the mix and the blend, and I haven't really listened to Stereo Lab that often. And every time it comes on, I'm like, "Oh, this is tight." I'm like, "Oh, it's Stereo Lab."
Stereo
Every
Lab's
time,
Yeah.
it's like, "Fuck, dude, I need to buy a vinyl and get some of their stuff."
That was
Their stuff's good.
that was a couple like very shortly before you got brought on the cast. We covered that. I think that was like episode 8 or something. It was right before you joined.
Yeah,
That's
same thing
probably-
with Buena Vista, another one
Yeah.
that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
That was in the early aughts.
The early odds. Boy, how we've grown to talk about so much music.
Right. But what about you, man?
For me, and I've talked to you about this, it's always been the same album for me. It's Slayer's live album called Decade of Aggression. It's very intense, but for some reason, like I can just, if I'm like super sad, I can put that on. It just centers me a little bit more.
We've only covered one live album with Another Stony Evening, which is a fantastic album.
Yeah.
And I feel like people kind of write off live albums. Give them a fucking chance. And what he said is true. Decade of Aggression by Slayer, that live album, holy fuck, dude.
It captures that band.
Yeah.
in a
Oh my
sense.
god. It was them at their height, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like, because when did it come out? Like 1990?
91.
91. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
peak fucking Slayer,
Yeah, right.
dude.
It's, and it's a double album. It's a lot of songs. It's their catalog essentially, but you've got all the original members just going for it. And for me, it's just one of those that, like I said earlier, it just makes me happy, even though it's pretty aggressive. And
Exactly.
not, it's not very happy at all. It
Right.
makes me happy. So,
Exactly.
Live albums definitely we need to bring up more.
Yeah, we should have another.
Daft Punk's 2007 A Live album is my favorite Daft Punk album.
Nice.
I love Discovery, I love Homework, but that album is just because it's all of their songs mixed into one, and you hear the crowd, they're just going crazy all the time. And looking at videos of the show that they were doing, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah. And my favorite live album is Fleetwood Mac, The Dance, which was, I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s. And they were all like, and it's legitimately the only way I'll listen to Fleetwood Mac, because they aged like fine wine, and that was them, in my opinion, in their musical prime. Like, they had already written all of the good songs, but for some reason their voices to me, like on Rumors is a great album. I'm not gonna fucking discount.
It's a good album.
I'll give it its credit. But the way they perform the songs off of Rumors and any of their other albums that they pull songs from in that one concert is fucking phenomenal. I have the live DVD still to this day. And, like, it's fucking incredible.
That's a good. Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But you only had the 2 questions?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what I got for now. Yeah.
Shout out. Well, what you got, Jake?
I will take the mic. Question 1. Favorite new artist currently out now? What's your favorite new artist that you've been listening to lately?
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh.
Damn. That's a toughie. Matt, do you have one?
Yeah, I'm just gonna be the generic answer because it's obvious based on my. If you look at the blend, Sleep Token and Billy Woods.
Yes.
Nice.
Kind of
Great
diving
picks.
into those guys. And,
Yeah.
Billy Woods is so creative and does a lot more than just maps, and been slowly diving into that hole. And Sleep Token the same.
Yeah.
Before this new album came out, they have another couple that are just as good.
I gotta listen to more Sleep Token. The songs that you guys have shown are sick.
That whole album's
Dude, it's all over.
Really
It's
good.
all over the fucking place. That new album that just came out. For me, I am still really liking Ghostmane. He put out an album back in like early 2021, I think, and I think he's working on another one. And then right now, it's hard. So I'll just say an album, really. The Scaring the Hose Volume 1 with Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia. I've always been a Danny Brown fan, always been a JPEG Mafia fan, and the two of them together, so I can't pick between the two. So I'll just say that that album I am still just playing the shit out of.
Yeah.
It's so that mixtape is so good, dude.
It's so good. I love it. I love duo groups when they do that. Like Amine and K Tronada.
Yes.
That album was good. I didn't live up to my expectations, but I still liked it. Mine would be Amaka. She's part of the duo Van Jess. They're like two sisters.
Okay.
But I think one of them stopped making music. And Amaka, she's doing her solo stuff.
Okay.
So she just dropped like 2 or 3 singles this year with K Tronada.
Nice.
Which is cool. So
I like that.
her. Another question. What genre would you like to see more of? Or what genre do you like that we've brought up that you wish we could talk about more?
Kind of going with your pick for this week, and my own appreciation for it. Any EDM, whether it's house, hardcore dubstep, mid tempo. There's a lot of. I feel like there's a lot of really under the radar shit within that genre that people always. All the old honks, you're usually like, it's just noise. Yeah, it is, but it's good ass noise, dude.
Yeah.
It fucking tickles my ears and my pee-pee, okay? Like,
Makes me happy.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So no, I would say EDM, whether it's house, dubstep, mid-tempo, any of that.
Nice. I like that. I'm in that same boat.
Yeah, I'd say getting outside of the United States and getting to other countries. More Hispanic music, and just I have a few that I want to bring up, and just I don't know, exploring that whole side of world music in general, getting away from our stereotypical picks.
And I mean, we've like traveled the globe a little bit with some of our picks, like Masonic Temples and Flames, Rammstein, but like stuff that's actually inspired from those countries. I totally agree. That's a good ass question, Dougie. Was that your last question?
I think my answer would be also Spanish.
Yeah.
I want to bring up more Spanish. I want to bring up reggae too. I wish we would talk about more about reggae.
Yeah.
I have like some reggae albums I'm looking out for that I haven't gotten yet, like physical copies. But that's another genre I want to bring up, reggae.
Right.
And then just my last quick question. What are your guys' like artists that you think are unappreciated or underappreciated or undervalued that you look up to?
Ooh, there we go.
Christ.
More than one too. It sounds like artists.
Yeah, artists or multiple. I'd say Makami, me personally. I feel like just him being so mysterious, not out there, kind of people look past him or don't even hear about him. And I like that about him, that he's very kind of under the radar. But when he drops, people will talk about it.
Yeah. I would say, and this one might not be as underappreciated or underrated as I'm thinking they are, but fucking Hiatus Coyote, man. Like, I feel like they don't get talked about enough, and they're just unreal, fantastic. And then Quasimodo. Everybody listens to everybody knows of Madlib because of Mad Villainy with him and Doom, but Quasimodo's easily one of my favorite artists that we've brought up on this cast, and one of my it's the only full discography that I own is his 3 albums.
That's true.
And like I love that project, that weird side alias of Madlib. So I would say Quaz mainly, and then Hiatus might not be as underappreciated as I'm thinking because of how much they've been sampled, but I think for the public, like for the general populace, like Hiatus probably, and then Quaz.
Nice. For me, it's toss up just because I've been listening to some podcasts lately, but Mos Def and then Saul Williams, just for kind of both opening up my horizons to different things that are going on in the world, not just with music, but how it's made and how it's manipulated and how it's mass produced and how it's it's changing every day. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
These guys are very underrated musicians and
very
humble about it too. So to have that hand in hand is really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely Saul Williams.
Dude,
That's
Saul Williams.
Saul, you put me onto that.
Same.
Saul's awesome.
I went back a couple, I think like before the last episode, I listened to at least a couple of tracks off the album of his that Reznor produced.
Oh, nice.
Come on, dude. Come the fuck on. It's so good. It's so good. Well, fuck yeah, guys. Great questions. Great answers. That ends this edition of the Whatchu Spinnin Q&A. Get to know the fellas a little bit. We'll be right back to dive into episode 53 of Whatchu Spinnin. Stay tuned. Matt and I quote Forrest Gump a lot, but I still think my favorite time I ever heard Forrest Gump quoted at OCCU was when that woman was at my station and you were right next to me and she just smelled like an ashtray that hadn't been cleaned in 17 years. And fucking as she left, no one else was in the branch and Jacob just looks at me and he's like, she smelled like cigarettes. And I was like,
That's perfect.
oh, so good.
That movie's so quotable.
Ollie, you ready to start diving in?
Kevin the other day got like just like one of those racks of Dr. Peppers. I drank 15 Dr. Peppers.
I had to pay.
I must have drank 15 Dr. Peppers.
I was running and it felt like something jumped up and bit me. Turns out I had been shot. Okay, let's get into today's content for episode 53 of Whatchu Spinnin. We just had a great time doing some Q&A. Love it. We'll have to do that some more down the line. But we're going to go ahead and kick off today's festivities with my pick for this week, which is a little bit of a more underground hip-hop pick.
A banger.
Oh, such a good pick.
Classic.
Come on.
Deltron 3030 by Del the Funky Homo Sapien and Dan the Automator and some other people hopped on it.
Shit.
But great pick. Came out in... Sheesh.
2000.
Yeah, it came out in 2000, which was actually right around when Del the Funky Homo Sapien was featured on Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz, which was the biggest fucking song of all time at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have listened to this for a while. I have some deep appreciation for it, but what you guys got to say?
Classic.
It is a classic.
It's a classic. And a statement.
It is very conceptual, like on all fronts. It's like a story about like the year 3030 and Deltron Zero, and being this psychic superhero, I guess, in a way. There's so many ways you can hear this album. The narrative's a little hit and miss, but it's like if you just go and choose your own adventure with this album, it works out.
Yeah.
And it's got such cool sampling, like even from the start with the song 3030, like the slide guitar in there. It's just
oh my god.
Silly. It's so good.
I got, just real quick, I got introduced to this album when I was working at FCR, working the late night shift, and I was working in Vinny lived in Springfield, and a lot of time to listen to music. And that was when I was obsessed with MF Doom and Quaz and everything, and a buddy of mine that knew MF Doom was like, you should check out this album Deltron 3030. Nice. And I heard that slide guitar on fucking 3030 and I was like, this is the best thing I've heard in a while.
Yes.
And so yeah, I was hooked from then, just to tag on to your point. But
yeah,
the production on it is really good.
It is.
Dan the Automator, he did his thing on this. He's done work with a lot of people. You guys were talking about it before this. Mike Patton also did work with the Gorillaz. Did work with Dr. Octagon, like a lot of underground and mainstream artists. So him being on this, producing this, it's so perfect for Del too, because Del, at this point he has like already a very successful career, being solo, and then being part of this group, and then the stuff he did with Gorillaz.
Yeah.
So I think it's freaking awesome that they came together on this. And yeah, just did a classic. It has that same like opera feel,
almost like an orchestra.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
which is interesting because it kind of has the same thing as kind of like The Wall, where it has a sequence, kind of telling a story about this guy in this futuristic world. In the year 3030, and he's trying to rebel against society or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking insane. Really cool concept album. The album cover, it kind of just looks futuristic. It just looks like something just in a different planet somewhere.
Yeah, just a bunch of people walking across a bridge into what looks like a rough draft of the Death Star. I don't know.
Like the back too. I mean, the back has those buildings and
Yeah.
chaos, or
like buildings and the track list.
That's like a real building too. The front one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a real building somewhere.
That was like an event or like a state fair thing back in the 20s. It was an exhibit.
Yeah.
I don't remember what. Yeah, I can't
That's
be,
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What the hell?
that's a real.
I'm
place.
serious. I ain't fucking around.
No, that's
I
crazy.
can't,
I didn't even
give
know
you more
that.
specifics, but
But no, it is. It fits the mold perfectly of a concept album, and especially, like we've talked about a couple concept albums at this point, and I think when you get into discussing hip hop albums that are also concept albums, that's when they become very skit heavy, and that's where it becomes very dangerous. It's like, okay, could the narrative or whatever get kind of lost within these skits, these little sketches that they have in between, these interludes, and they're very tongue-in-cheek in a way. They're very fun, very like ha ha ha, like having a lot of fun with it, almost almost in a way like acknowledging like, hey, we know that this is a fucking goofy concept, especially for the time that it came out, but they execute it perfectly. And I think the skits, even though they are kind of silly and goofy and out there, they feed into the narrative that the music is telling as well. And so none of it's lost. It's like that one where it's like, this bass is hurting my ears, like on New Coke. Like, do you remember when you could get a bowl of soup for a nickel? Like, just shit like that. And it's like, all right. And then it goes into, what is it, like Madness or whatever, which is one of my favorite songs off of this.
The Ass Man 640 speaks.
Yeah,
Like,
the Ass Man.
What kind of skit is that? But those skits, there's like a skit after every song, which is nuts.
Yeah,
because it's a long track list. It's like
24 songs.
24 songs. Which is pretty nuts. That's a lot of songs for an album, but they tie together really well, and it gives it time too to like marinate on the song.
Right.
Marinate on the song, because some of the songs are like 7 minutes, 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
So it lets you digest it, and then it's like, oh, here's a little skit to kind of, ease the tension, and it goes back into it. But yeah, man, every song on this is just super good, super witty raps from Del. We were listening to a song before this, and I have lyrics pulled up for it, and they're fucking nuts. Like all those, like some words he says, I'm like, what is this? How did you look this up? It's like he like pulls out a dictionary and like
his style's very eloquent and like, I don't know, very just abstract, which we like.
Yeah.
He has a good flow.
Kind of him and I would put him and like Aesop and kind of MF Doom. I would kind of put them in the same camp as far as just eccentric wordplay that they use and the words that they do use. MF Doom was mainly more just known for rhyming, not insane wording. But and then you listen to fucking Governor. But
and Del's more like the oddball of rap, in a way.
Yeah, that is just, his wordplay is unreal, and then you're like, is that even a fucking word? Oh, I guess it is. Okay, cool. All right, shout out to you.
Yeah.
His flows too are interesting. He'll do like kind of that like rising and dropping. He does that like he does that, which is cool that he does that. Not a lot of people do that.
No.
And I mean, his catalog. He's like,
he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while.
Very, very. he's one of those artists that like might not be huge to the public, but he's very well respected within the hip hop community and like the people that make it and actually truly appreciate the genre, which is very cool. And speaking of that, it's very, very rare that you see an album that is mainly hip hop that has multiple songs that are 5.5+ minutes long. And most of the songs on this are clocking in at 6 some odd minutes. The first actual track is 7.5 minutes long, which is truly a testament to his ability to songwrite. And, you know, because rap songs have classically been, you know, 3.5-4 minutes long, and to be able to keep an idea going for that long and to be able to rap on it and speak on it is truly impressive. It's one of the things that it's actually probably one of my favorite things about this album is like, how the hell do you have Metallica and Justice for All length songs and you're just rapping for 7-8 minutes? Like, it's Jesus.
That methodical third verse, like how often do you hear that? You don't. Like, it's, you know, it's 16 lines, 16 bars.
That's a good point.
You rarely hear a third verse on a song, and he does it.
He just keeps going.
Yeah, he just keeps going and going.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad that you liked it. The production work on it, as we've discussed, is fantastic. It's
got a good theme too. I think coming out in the year 2000, that whole Y2K era.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was more planned. You know, maybe he was thinking about that when he wrote the album. Maybe it was, you know.
Yeah.
It's a good timing for it.
Very.
And it's an underrated album. Like you started off with your introduction, it is underrated. You know, not a lot of people know about it, but once they do find out about it, you're like, oh, now,
and I mean, at first listen, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow because there is there's just so much going on with it. You know what I mean? So I can understand why people are like, I didn't really like it. I mean, I think you might need to listen to it a couple more times before it really sinks in, but the artistry,
there's a catchy hook on any song.
Upgrade your gray matter, like fucking. There's artistry throughout this entire thing, and it's really something. Again, like I said, hip hop concept albums are rare, but when you're able to execute it in this way and have so many different facets that make it an impressive work of art, whether it's the fact that the songs are long or it's very skit heavy, but it doesn't take away from the narrative. Like, in my opinion, knocked it out of the park. I would almost call it like a perfect hip hop concept album. Like if that's what you're into, this is the one. This is an album you should listen to.
Yeah, this has to be on our list of one of the better ones.
Yeah. Do we have any closing thoughts? You want me to kick off top threes, babies?
I wish. I mean, they did do it. They did another project after this, didn't they? I haven't heard it.
I heard a couple of songs off of it. Wasn't as impactful as this, for sure.
Okay.
What were the lyrics you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. Can I even pronounce them?
Do you need me to mispronounce them for you?
No, I got it. So it's like, what song is that?
Deep hole.
From Time Keeps on Slipping. He's like mathematical astro, grapple flow, pterodactyl, very factual, crash course, last resort. Cast me off. At last we wrapped it. Whatever. He keeps going. Like it. What the hell? Like just the syllables that he has. Because when rapping, that's a big part of it. Like syllables. Yeah. How they match. How many syllables are in your word that you're matching it with.
Sure.
And the fact that he does that with these like words that shouldn't go together, but they do go together, and he makes it work. Like it's nuts, and it's a true test to like lyricism that he does with hip hop.
And his delivery is and especially in that part, one of my favorite things about Del as a rapper is the way his delivery. It's almost like slowly speeding up as you get onto a freeway, because he'll start off kind of slow and then it's just like evil, like just slowly ramps up, and then he's not going like Busta Rhymes fast, but it's like, damn, all right, you kind of actually did a nice little vocal acceleration there with the delivery. But yeah, fucking shout out, dude. Check it out. Deltron 3030 by Deltron. Let's do top threes.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll start off. Honorable mentions for me, Positive Contact, the original version. If you go on Spotify, there's a really sick bonus track version. Matt, you and I were into that this week.
That was
Almost
fun.
sounds like a fucking Rob Zombie track. Honorable mention for me is Upgrade. And then 3, 2, 1, we got Time Keeps on Slipping. Number 2 is Madness. And number 1, 30-30. Can't get over that guitar sample. It makes a part of my body wiggle. I'll let you fill in the blank on what part.
What does that mean?
But yeah, that was my top 3.
I want to wiggle. I'll start off with mine, or continue it. Honorable mention for me, 30-30. That slide guitar, like you said, it's classic. Kind of reels you in real slow. And then 3, 2, 1, Positive Contact. Again, I'm going to copycat you. The bonus one's good. I almost like it a little bit better. But
Speaking on that,
Yeah.
one song that has the bonus version that I like more than the original is Turbulence.
okay.
I liked the bonus track version of Turbulence more than I liked the original, actually.
Nice. And then 2 for me was Mastermind. I think the sampling alone on that song is just legit. It's just fucking sweet. And then my top song was Memory Loss. Felt like that was an anthem for the album.
Yeah.
For me.
Very good.
Yeah. Good pick, man.
Thank you.
Good pick.
Honorable mention, I'm going to go Battle Song.
Mm-hmm.
And then top 3, I'm going to go Time Keeps on Slipping. Turbulence, the OG.
Okay.
And then Virus. I really liked Virus.
Yes.
It's such a bouncy beat.
Yeah.
I love bouncy beats when they have like a hard drum line to it.
It had like a Clips / Further Adventures of Lord Quaz kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
And I really dug that. But
So yeah, I'm glad we brought this up because Del is definitely like an old school style rapper. That he brought it into the 2000s, that same feel.
Right.
With this,
Right.
and even the stuff that he was doing with Gorillaz and everything else after, like it's definitely
kills.
Yeah,
It just kills.
Underground classic.
Very much so. And the fact that it's not even a solo project and it's such a massive, staple for underground hip hop is fantastic.
Yeah.
But any hoodly doodly, that was
Yes.
Deltron 3030 by Deltron, released in 2000, which was my pick for this week. We'll be right back to talk about Matt's. Yeah.
Actually, it's 156 right now. And on that note, we are 156. We are 156.
156.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and just dive right on into it. We just wrapped up talking about Deltron 3030, which was my pick for this week. I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Matt, see what he's bringing up. What you got for us, Matt?
Going back in time, back to 1978 when this album was originally recorded, not released until 96. Static Age by the Misfits, Glenn Danzig's first outfit. Kind of a forgotten about album. None of the labels wanted to touch it when it came out originally. I think it was just the time that it came out. Different bands like, Talking Heads and Blondie, and it's not really catchy. Bunch of people talking about horror icons and old movies and stuff like that. Looking back on it now, it's heralded as kind of an inspiring goth album. But it's basically Glenn Danzig just talking about old horror movies and JFK conspiracies and just some weird lyrics, some kind
Right
of
up my
abstract, but I think if anybody's a fan of Glenn Danzig, this is kind of a good introduction to where he gets his vocal, his harmonies. I've said it to Dorian before, but it's almost like it's Elvis, Jim Morrison, and even a little bit of Roy Orbison mixed into is Glenn Danzig in a whole.
And what's hilarious about that was I had told you, I was like, man, if there's one thing I will never not appreciate is Glenn Danzig's vocal. And you said, yeah, it's got kind of a Jim Morrison Elvis vibe. And then I went to the bathroom at work and came back, and you're like, I actually just looked it up. Those are like his 2 biggest influences. No big deal. I was like, you motherfucker, way to call your shot like Babe Ruth. Christ on a bike.
But it's simple. I think it's a 3-piece on this album, and it's very short, sweet. I think with not even maybe 35 minutes long, 17 songs. They're all fast, under a couple minutes. Similar style, but I think for, that time musically in 1978 was kind of ahead of its time, and I think that's also why it kind of got overlooked, just not the right time for it. Going back to what I said a second ago, it's got its praise since then, and I know Glenn Danzig doesn't like to talk a lot about the Misfits because it's like, well, why didn't you ask me back then about them? Nobody gave a shit back then. Why do you care now? And I think he's gotten over that and progressed to actually playing with them again live and doing that and kind of bringing it back to the fans, which is cool because a lot of us didn't get to see the Misfits. They broke up in '83, very short-lived. So, what'd you guys think?
I mean, Misfits, man, the most tattooed band logo of all time. Probably. Massive appreciation. They were, as you just said, a band that really gained traction after it was too late, essentially, for lack of a better term. But goddamn were they influential, whether you want to peg hole them into the goth scene or peg hole them into the punk aspect. The short track runtime really feeds into that kind of aspect to it. And Glenn Danzig, like I said, Jesus Christ, man, the guy's got pipes. And he might be a short, jacked weirdo, but goddamn, he can write a song and he can belt, dude.
He can.
I got into Danzig, the band Danzig, before I went back and listened to the Misfits, because I was just kind of like, Miss Me, like that's just like. It's like white junkyard music. And then I went and listened to it, and I was like...
White junkyard music. What? We'll be covering that genre. That's some other episode. We've got a list of bands that we love.
Well, everybody I knew that was like heavily into the Misfits had ashtrays inside their house, if you know what I mean. And that's a tough look. So it kind of... There was kind of that stigma, whatever. But I found out that Glenn Danzig was the vocalist for the Misfits, which I didn't know. And so I was like, oh, no shit. Okay, let me go ahead and listen to him. And just like their stage appearance too, like Jerry Only, the bassist, with his long fucking front mohawk going all the way down.
I saw that. Yeah.
They were and are, still, like I said, they got popular basically after they broke up, really. They are so influential to multiple genres of music. It's not just punk and goth music. You go look up a bunch of the metal bands that we've covered, ones that we haven't, and they're like, yeah, fucking the Misfits were our inspiration. Which is really something to be said. And this album in particular, man, has some of my favorite. It might actually be my favorite Misfits album.
Definitely. It's got them all.
Yeah, fucking Last Caress, which is probably is that their biggest song?
I think so. It's like any song you hear at karaoke. People are going to bust in the chorus right away.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, I don't mean this in a bad way at all. It's obnoxiously catchy. Like the songs to it get stuck in your head like you just ate peanut butter and you hadn't drank water all day. It's like just damn it! Now I'm singing "Return of the Fly" for the next 4 days. God damn it!
Return of the Fly.
Yeah, but yeah, and I said this earlier when we were doing our little refresher. Listen to a song off each album. Is that the beautiful thing about how shittily it's mixed is that you can hear every single instrument in the mix. Oh, sure. And Jerry Only actually kills as a bass player, which in this kind of genre, especially at this time, making your bass well heard and well known was not a thing at all. And so that was kind of a relief, especially for me as a bass player. I was like, damn, like that's actually, like he's actually kind of shredding. But no, great album top to bottom. It's impressive when you can pack 17 songs in only 35 minutes of an album. Yeah, right. Shout out to you. But no, fucking love the Misfits, man.
Yeah, I think well said. Definitely, the songs are like criminally way too short.
Yeah,
they're all like a minute 30.
Yeah, super short.
But they're also catchy. They're like simple, repetitive riffs. They're all kind of the same. But I think that's what's like simplicity about it, that it's so good. And yeah, I honestly hadn't heard of the Misfits. I had seen the logo everywhere. I think your statement to the most tattooed logo is True. I think when I went to that show last week, I must have seen like 10 people like with it. There was a guy with the bartender had a jacket.
Oh yeah. If you have a battle jacket made, there is a Misfits patch on it.
Yeah, somewhere.
Whether it's the whole back of
Yeah.
it or a small one on, it's on there.
Fiend Club or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, super super cool. This album, it has all the bangers on it, all the really good songs on it, and they're all short and sweet, but they're so good, every single one of them. And yeah, it's like very at this point like a classic punk album, the Misfits, and they've over like the years they broke up and they've gone through so many changes in their like band group that it's kind of hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Danzig
And
and Jerry only hate each other.
yeah, just for like the fucks of it, I was like, let me see their newer stuff. What does that sound like? It sounds very different.
Yeah, it's I was gonna say
Very different,
very different.
to
That's the
this.
perfect way to describe it.
Yeah,
Very different.
but I think this was super good, and it encapsulated like what they were trying to do at the time. Like it sounds very fresh, very new, but something about me just kind of irks that it came out so long afterwards. Like if they would have done it so much sooner, like I feel like it could have been a lot more
It just
different.
missed. It was like it came out and you listen to it now and you're like, wow, this is kind of ahead of its time for that era. But I don't know, man. To have it shelved for over 20 years, and then
Literally
it finally
over
comes
20
out when they
years.
released the box set. And it's
Right.
like, holy shit. Because slowly Danzig released some of the songs after they broke up, and he was doing his own thing with Sam Hain and Danzig.
Another great band, by the way,
Yep.
Sam Hain.
Yeah,
Or Sam Hain, however you fucking pronounce that one.
I think you said it right the first time. But they released compilation albums after the Misfits broke up that had some of the
Really?
songs that were on this album. They just never. That's why we've heard like She and Hollywood Babylon. I've heard those songs before numerous times, and Last Caress, things like that.
Yeah.
And then finally the album comes out, and you're like, holy crap! All these songs were on this one album.
Yeah.
And it's sat because no record label would touch it.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
And that was a conversation you and I had like a month and a half ago, because I had listened to Last Caress and had it stuck in my head, and I was like, man, I want to get this album on vinyl. And you're like, what album? And I was like, oh yeah, isn't it like Collection 2 or whatever? You're like, no. You're like, I have it on vinyl, dude. That's Static Age. I'm like, no, it's not.
You son of a bitch, you lying to me.
I was like, nah, no way. And so, like, mind you, Static Age, obviously, it has been released. But if you look up Last Caress, which, as we said, is probably their biggest song, Google will still pull up that it's on Collection 2.
Well,
The album called Collection 2. It doesn't even mention
that's where I heard
Static
it
Age.
the first time. Yeah.
Same, yeah. So it's bananas. It's like, how did this get swept under the rug? And did you look up I had to look this one up and do some research on it. Danzig traded something.
Oh, for a copyright process or to get studio time? Or?
Yeah, like copyrights because he had, what was it, like Blank Image Records or something was his thing he was trying to start. And then another, like a record label had that as like a subsidiary. And he's like, I'll give you the copyright rights to that if you give me like 30 hours of studio time. And that's where this came in.
Which is kind of a cool thing. He's traded that,
Yeah.
It didn't really cost him anything.
No. And it's like, that's why it kind of sounds, the mixing isn't great and all this stuff is because they were literally just cramming all of this into
Probably a lot
30 hours.
self-produced, I'm sure.
Very.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
I think that's cool though that they have I like the fact that they brought it out with a box set, but it also irks me because they should have put this out when they made it, like fresh off, like just make it and put it out.
Because that was the time that it was recorded was when things were really starting to shift musically. You know, it's 1978. What happened in the 80s? Like that's when punk and thrash metal and like all this stuff really started to kick off. And so you're literally at the turn of a decade with something that's very, honestly at the time, very experimental and very out there.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're not gonna put it out like it.
Yeah,
it's the biggest example of shooting yourself in the foot, which they probably had their reasons, but goddamn, man, the fact, like, to hear that and then to really think about it is bananas to me. It's wild.
Yeah, but I'm glad that eventually they did bring it out. Because if they wouldn't have, like, I wouldn't have heard of the Misfits. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have, maybe. Because a lot of their bigger songs are on this album. And even, like, their box set, like, if you look, like, the most popular songs, they're still on this album.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But, no, yeah, it's a super good album. I liked it. I like that it's short. You can kind of listen to all the songs, and they're all super catchy. And you'll get everything. Like, I heard myself singing back to fucking TV. What's that song called?
TV Casualty.
TV Casualty. We made that joke right now. The one.
We Are 138.
138. Hybrid Moments. Like, all those songs, they're like just super catchy. I like that song actually. I wanted to bring that up. We Are 138. It's so simple, and then I don't know if it's a solo or not. It's like a little 10-second segment where it's just like all you hear is the guitar, but it's just doing like two notes. It's just doing like two notes repetitively. Like, that's the guitar solo for 10 seconds. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it kind of had the thing that I really like about it, that I'll say it every time. You almost get lost in it because the tracks just keep going, and you don't realize how short they are at first listen. And so they just kind of keep feeding into each other, and you're like, oh man, like, it kind of actually flows really well. And that was kind of a thing back then with early punk and early goth albums. They were all very much, the best way to listen to them was to listen to them cover to cover. Was because it's like, dude, all of these songs are great. They unintentionally, because there's no way it was intentional, especially with this album, that the songs would flow from one to another. If we talk about an album like Lateralis by Tool, completely different story. Those are meant to flow into each other. Same thing with Mad Villainy. But early days of punk, like, they had this weird, unspoken, unintentional shit that they were doing, where their albums would just snowball, and then by the end of it, you're like, huh?
Yeah.
That was it?
You got hit in the face by something.
Yeah.
That's what you feel like.
How many songs were on there? 10? Oh, 17? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fucking flip it over. Run it
30
back.
minutes, yeah.
Run it back.
And I like the way Glenn Danzig portrayed himself and kind of threw in that 50s doo-wop element a little bit and had more, like you said, catchy hooks and melodies and rhythms that are not just in one song but throughout the album on different songs. And he added his own spin on it based on things he probably watched growing up, whether it be 50s stuff or 60s horror movies, things like that.
Shit like
Yeah,
that.
with like Return of the Fly, I think, is a Vincent Price movie. So like using all the things that he watched growing up, and he just kind of wrote about it and made it catchy. As cheesy as some of the lyrics are, they're catchy.
Some of them are really cheap. Like, he'll talk about monsters. Or like he'll talk about JFK.
Or Teenagers from Mars, and he's like, I'm not a teenager anymore when he was making this album.
Right. We don't care.
But they're anthems, and they're timeless, and like we were saying earlier, it's looked at as an inspiration for a lot of different artists that kind of grew up listening to punk rock, and this is the horror punk rock album, if there is one. This is the one.
This is the one.
And I love, I'll go back to Elvis. Danzig has an album where he just sings Elvis songs.
Really?
He's done performances in Vegas recently where he just goes and does the same thing and just performs Elvis covers and just kills it.
Jesus.
Like,
I would love to see some
to
footage.
know that he can still sing like that. He's not super old, but like, he's definitely not in his prime.
Yeah.
But to sing Elvis still, and people are like selling out, and people are enjoying it and saying, hey, he actually did a good job. So
Damn. Fuck yeah.
still got it.
Shout
Got the
out.
pipes.
Shout out, Glenn.
Yeah.
Keep it up, baby boy.
But I'm glad you guys digged it. It's a fun album, short and sweet.
Now that I
In your
know
face.
the content on it, I'm on the hunt for it myself, dude. I need to. That's another thing that we kind of talk about every once in a while, that like a band or an album that you have to have in your collection, and I think Misfits might be one of those, that like you got to have at least one album of theirs in your collection if you're collecting records, like. And this is probably the one to do. So I gotta get my little fingers.
Yeah, when Jacob leaves, I'm gonna swap my Misfits one for his.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna notice.
That's Hey, I don't know who gets fucked over in that trade. Both those albums are great.
Get your dirty mitts off my.
But hell yeah, brother! Thank you for bringing it up. Great album as always.
Yeah.
Want to?
I'll dive in.
Top three
Top
from
three
the top of the arc.
Yeah. Let's do it. Honorable mention for me was a double shot with Spinal Remains and Theme for a Jackal.
Yep.
Just fun, kind of abstract-y horror, weird songs. And then 3, 2, 1. 3 would be TV Casualty. Number 2, Hollywood Babylon. And then my favorite song was Hybrid Moments.
Yep.
I think it's my top song from the Misfits, no matter what they say. That's my top dog.
Nice.
I'm going to go next. I got my honorable mention, We Are 138. It's literally just that. Those are the lyrics. We Are 138. But it's good. It's repetitive, and it's like super catchy. It starts off slow and then just goes into it. Top 3, I'm gonna go Some Kind of Hate, Hybrid Moments, and then my favorite track was In the Doorway.
Ooh, that's
interesting. Good
song.
pick.
I hate that it's so short.
It's
All
so
these
short.
songs are so short,
it's so
man.
short. That's a good track.
Make them just like a minute longer, and it'd be so much better. But I like that it's short. It kind of keeps you wanting more.
Yeah.
So,
For me, honorable mentions are We Are 138, and then Attitude. I really liked Attitude. It kind of had, from a musical standpoint, it was very like, kind of had that almost Elvis kind of feel to it. And then, you got some fucking attitude. Just fucking, the word fucking over that kind of music was fantastic.
yeah.
And then number 3 for me was Angel Fuck. Number 2, Return of the Fly. And then number 1, my favorite Misfits song, and I will be the general populace here, Last Caress. It doesn't get better than that, dude. That song kicks, dude. So yeah, those are my top 3.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
One last caress.
Nice.
Fucking kills, dude. Anywho, that was Matt's pick for this week, which was Static Age by the Misfits, released in 1978. We're going to go way forward in time, but only back in time a month from where we currently are in 2023 with Jake's pick for this week. Put a big old fat bow on this motherfucker and send it to the goddamn moon. We'll be right back with Whatchu Spinnin', episode 53. Peace! Okay, we just covered probably one of the most influential albums we've covered in a while with Static Age by the Misfits. I think as far as influential albums go that we've covered, probably one of the more up there on my list at least. Definitely a new, especially in that genre, I'd say. But now we've got to wrap it up and go back in time a month to May of 2023 and talk about some great shit with Jake's pick. So what do you got, man?
Yeah, so I brought up Good Lies by Overmono. Overmono, this came out a month ago. The singles leading up to this, they were coming out earlier this year and last year and the year before. Yeah, it's some newer stuff. It's a Wales. It's a duo of two brothers out of Wales, and it's some electronic, some EDM. Definitely, I've been getting more into the genre back again, and this is one of them that I really liked. The singles leading up to this were phenomenal. Some of them aren't on the album, unfortunately. I really wish they would have been on there. But still super good. This album's really good. I love the Doberman on the front.
Yeah.
The Doberman.
Cool.
The Doberman.
Doberman.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't talk a lot about EDM or like dance music.
Yep.
So what are your guys' takes on this? What do you guys think about the album?
We should talk about more.
Yeah.
And I think that's up to you guys because I don't know a lot about that genre specifically. So feel free to just start throwing those out.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, man. If I love every album that we brought up this week for various reasons, but this one made me very reminiscent of when I first got into DJing and first got heavily into this kind of music, and and that's the kind of, sorry to go off on like a side thing, but every album actually that we brought up made me very reminiscent. Like the Misfits brought me back to when I was skating heavily, and like getting into skate culture, working at Zoomies, always listening to Misfits. Deltron was literally, like I said, me driving home long nights after work, and then this was me getting back into music from a creative standpoint. And as I said, it's Forza Horizon's music, very much so.
Yes.
Because it's like, and this is a perfect example of when it gets super tricky to try to figure out what subgenre of EDM an album can fit into, because it does have house elements, it's got trance elements, it's got psytrance elements. There's like 7 different and also EDM is a very cluttered genre as well, to where there's too many or not too many, but there's so many that it's hard to pick from. But man, dude, it just makes you feel good. This album just makes you feel fucking good, and makes you, if you're driving listening to this, just keep an eye on the speedometer, because you're gonna be you're gonna be clocking 100 if you're not careful, because it's just like
you're like in a race car all of a sudden.
It's awesome.
Your van just turns into a 300 horsepower car, it's easily.
It's very active music. Like I said earlier before we got on, I was cleaning to the whole album earlier, and just in a groove, turning it up loud, and I'd love to see these guys perform live. This would be a great show to go to.
Oh yeah,
like you said, they're brothers. There's a 10-year difference between their age, which is curious because it shows the influences. Both are going to be a little bit different, not the same at all. Which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
And this album is just fun. Like you said, the album cover is cool as hell. Good driving music.
Yes.
Overall, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Your house was probably spotless.
Bathroom was clean.
In like 5 minutes, it was gone. No, it's definitely I've been jogging. I've been trying to jog a lot more. So when I'm running, I kind of need something upbeat. Because when I'm lifting rock music, it helps me get in the zone and just do it for a small period of time. But EDM and something upbeat, up techno or something, it kind of keeps me motivated and wanting to run. So when I've been jogging, I've been listening to stuff like this. And I feel like it keeps me motivated, keeps me moving, keeps me, feeling the music a little bit more. So that's kind of why I picked this, because this is just what I've been listening to more recently. But definitely, I really like this album. It brought me back also as well to when I was listening to a lot of this style of music, like EDM, house music, dubstep. I used to be really big into that. These guys have been doing it for a while now. They've been active since 2015, 2016.
Yeah, they were kind of doing their own thing before this. Producers and stuff, right?
Yeah, they have songs with other big artists like Fortet, Joy Orbison, I think that's her name.
Yep.
A lot of old school EDM artists and newer. So yeah, the fact that they finally dropped an album, their first studio album, it's super good for them. It's a step in the right direction, and it's super cool that the singles leading up to this and EPs, because they did a couple EPs before this, but the singles leading up to this were super good. Gunk, one of them, and there's another one that's super good. But you could tell they're singles because they have the same dog, the same Doberman. I try to say Doberman like mine.
Oh, that's on each.
Yeah, that's on cool. That's the cover.
This man's just plugging his gamer tag on Xbox.
Yeah, that's my gamer tag. Yeah, Doberman. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. It's kind of EDM is kind of one of those genres I feel like it's not hard to get into, but it's hard to like, just because it's just kind of people say, oh, it's just sounds, or it's just someone hitting a button repeatedly or something. But there's definitely a lot of dimensions that go into it.
This album is very accessible. It doesn't have a specific layout at all. Verminley has a great ambient tone. The second track, Arla Fern. I don't know if you guys ever played this back in the day. I think it was on the PlayStation. It's called the MTV Music Generator, and you would essentially create beats and stuff like that and make your own song. It was the coolest thing. It was right when I started getting into music. Fun game. You can make your own songs.
That sounds bad.
Some of the samples and things that they use just remind me of that game.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And when you played that game, after you made the song, you could make a visual thing to go with the music.
That's fucking tight.
Cool. MTV was actually dope.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, MTV
made a
cool.
game.
It was just a video
That's
game.
Cool.
But it just reminded me kind of nostalgic in that way. And like I said a second ago, the layout isn't specific at all. It's just all over with, the sampling, and the whole vibe is great. It's so fun.
And to kind of go back a little bit to when you said like the age discrepancy between the two brothers, you can really hear that throughout the album, as you kind of said. You know, there's some tracks on it that are like very reminiscent of old stuff, whether it's Daft Punk, you know, Sosh. There's a little bit of Sosh on there. Not as much Oizo, because this is more trancey. And then there were some that you were like, oh, this is very much like current, you know, like Takami, Mala influenced kind of sound. And then also speaking to that point as well, there's some songs that don't really go anywhere, which isn't a bad thing. Like they just keep the same kind of feel, the same kind of theme, you know, hey, we're locked into this beat, just feel it out. And then there's some tracks that do kind of go different places, you know, that kind of actually have more of a traditional deep house kind of setup and layout to them. But again, it feeds into the point you just made. There's no thematic layout for this. It just is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first half, it's a little bit more toned down. Like it's not so upbeat and like just, you know, house music. Because yeah, some songs, they're very mellow. Like they're very mellow. There really isn't a drum beat or anything to it. And then the other half, the second half, when you get songs like You Know and Is You, Calling Out, like those are a lot more upbeat.
Cologne.
And yeah, they have like a lot more, you know, like tempo to them. So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't notice that, but definitely the first half is a little bit more calmer than the second half.
Yeah, it's just very much like stay in their lane for the first half, and then the second half they kind of start branching out and doing a little bit more. It's not like drops, you know. Like I said, this is a weird one to try to pigeonhole into a specific subgenre within EDM or house or trance. So there's not, you know, strict like cocksucker dum 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 dum. Like there's not that, but it does just kind of go, oh, it's almost like a verse chorus verse kind of layout, but with EDM, which was a very interesting way to tackle this genre, because it doesn't happen like that all the time. So I fucking love this album.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that we were talking about this before, because we were playing some songs and I played Calling Out, and you had mentioned that Slow Tie was on that song, which I did not know that. I was like, this kind of sounds like Slow Tie, and you were like, oh yeah, he is on this, and apparently that's him, and it sounds just like him. I'm pretty sure that's him. I think that's freaking awesome that they do that. He's not mentioned on the credits or anything, but like a trained ear, you could tell that's him. Which is fucking badass. That's cool. I love Slow Tie.
These guys are gaining traction too. I mean, I think they won like a British award in 2021. They played at Coachella recently and the last festival. So I mean, they're getting out there.
Oh yeah,
Fun to see them live again, like I was saying.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That too. Like, for live shows, every genre has their, you know, like their style. Like if it's country, it's a little bit more mellow. If it's rock, it's more, you know, like fast paced. If it's EDM like this, it's a lot about the light show.
Sure.
Like what lights you have going on, the ambience, everything. So I've seen some of their shows just like on YouTube and some clips, and it looks electric.
I bet.
Yeah, definitely something. If I had the chance to, I'd do it.
Oh,
I think they had some shows in California I was looking at. But,
might have to take a road trip, Dougie.
Right? No, but yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. Definitely a genre I want to get into more.
I'll help out.
So I feel like it's a good turning point to a leaf.
Might have to do something similar to what you did with that Japanese Jazz Spectacle album, because there's
Compilations,
there's a couple compilation like house mixtapes that are really, really good. Because, and that's the other thing I wanted to bring up about this real quick before we wrap up is EDM music across any of the subgenres. It's very EP heavy. It's hard. It's very rare that someone puts out an album.
True.
Like even the old heads, you know, as I mentioned, Sosh and Oizo, like they even just did mainly EPs. It was hardly ever a full fucking album. So the fact that they put out a studio album is really something to to give props to. And, it's nothing to shake a stick at. So shout out to him. What, shall we top 3 it up, or
Yes,
do you have any?
No. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Top 3. I'm gonna go, or honorable mention. I will go. So You Know. I love that song. I've heard it so many times that I overplayed it myself, unfortunately. But that song is freaking amazing. Top 3, I'm gonna go Scold, Is You, and then Calling Out. It's my favorite song. I've been liking that song a lot.
Yeah.
Matt, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. For me, I always like a good title track, so my honorable mention, Good Lies, as that, like I said, good title track. At number 3 would be Arla Fern, that music generator vibe, like I was saying. Number 2, Verminley. I felt that had like an ambient instrumentation throughout the song, which I love, any song that does that. And then my top track was Sugar Rush. That bass, it's like so square and like squelchy, and I don't know, I just like that track.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Honorable mentions for me, start off with the intro track, Feelings Plain. And then other honorable mention, Is You. And then 3, 2, 1. Number 3, Walk Through Water. Number 2, Cold Blooded. And number 1, Cologne or Cologne, however the hell you want to pronounce it. That one really was one that I just felt myself taking my notes today, and I would just close my eyes and just fucking vibe a little bit. But yeah, great pick, Overmono. Good Lies, dude. Great.
All of our picks were I think they were all different.
Oh yeah,
weren't they?
Yeah. I had someone ask me what
that's really cool.
What the subject matter was for today, and I was like, none of the same.
It's always like that.
It's like,
no, our song picks on.
Yeah.
We didn't pick
our
any of the
song
same
picks.
tracks.
Yeah, all of us were different.
That was cool. I don't think that happens very often.
No.
Take note of that.
Take note of that. If you're a Whatchu Spinnin historian,
and I think that shows that it's a good album too. That we all found a similar love for it.
We did,
different things.
You guys, because I thought we'd at least share one similar
and
song.
We didn't, right?
No, it was all different.
That's cool.
Rad.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Love it. Well,
what about Bodger? What do you think?
Ollie,
you ready for your top 3?
No, he's not moving.
He's slumped over. Anyways, Good Lies by Overmono, released a month ago, May 2023. We'll be right back to do everybody's favorite part of the show when we introduce what's coming up next episode. We'll be right back with Whatchu Spinnin'.
It's about that time.
My mama said.
It is, in fact, about that time. Like every good painting, like every good house that's ever been made, you got to put the finishing touches on it. And this has been a great episode, so ipso facto, we got to put the finishing touches on the motherfucker. And how we do that is we go ahead and go in order that we brought up albums today and introduce the subject matter for next week. That being said, I'm up first, and I have been waiting until I got this on wax to bring it up, and about 3 days ago, I finally got it on wax again. We're going Choose Your Weapon by Hiatus Coyote. Mentioned them a little bit in the Q&A section of today's show, and I feel like they've been mentioned a shit ton on the show due to sampling. And now we actually get to talk about the stuff that got sampled, and just a very, very good artist. It's a band. They're categorized as neo-soul, kind of R&B a little bit. Truly one of my favorite albums of all time. My favorite album from 2015, but we'll get into that in a couple weeks.
Dude, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Matt. What you got?
I called it. Tough choice. I brought 3. I'm not sure what one I was going to do, but I'm going to go with something a little bit more modern in the last 10 years. A band called Temples from England. The album's called Sun Structures.
Ooh. Okay.
More of like it's got that classic '60s birds, zombies kind of vibe,
Nice.
but with the modern day.
Okay. I've seen that.
It's just a good summer album too. I feel like it's good to be outside playing this at a barbecue or whatever, and I'm gonna try to stick with the season this summer and throw some things that I'd be listening to outside.
Hell yeah. Appreciate it.
Nice.
Love that. I don't think I've ever heard of that, but I'm down. Jacob, what do you got, man?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick something I actually don't own.
It's a first for you.
First for me, because this album is stupid expensive and super hard to find. But I'm going to go 1992, a band called Maná. And don't forget the acento, the accent on the last A, Maná.
Is it M-A-N-A?
M-A-N-A, yes.
Okay.
Album title, ¿Dónde jugarán los niños? It's a question. But it's a Spanish album, a Spanish band, Maná.
Love it.
Yeah, I grew up with this. I'm going to get into it. This is a very emotional album for me. I
Heck
think
yeah.
you guys will like it. I will confuse the hell out of you guys with the lyrics on it because it's all in Spanish.
Jacob
alright.
and I both might cry next episode because
Yeah.
that's me with Hiatus Coyote. But fucking Maná. I love it, bro. Let's go. Next week's going to be wild.
Yes.
Or next episode's going to be wild. Oh, man. Temples, Maná, and Hiatus Coyote. Fucking sounds like a crazy party to me. It sounds like the UN of music.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyways, this has been a great episode. We appreciate y'all tuning in each and every episode. Go ahead, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow on Spotify. We are still up to date because I am no longer a scumbag. That's actually not true. Still the biggest scumbag you'll ever meet, but getting my shit together. Anywho, as per usual, I'm your host, Dorian, joined as always by my favorite bros, Jacob and Matt. Would you go ahead and tell people goodbye?
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Tell them later. We'll catch you next time on Whatchu Spinnin. This has been episode 53 of said show, Whatchu Spinnin. Peace the fuck out.